your NBC10 First Alert weather update.
I'm NBC10 First Alert meteorologist Marvin Gomez. Currently 2:15, and we are watching the severe thunderstorms that are currently sliding across the Lehigh Valley. And we are breaking through our regular programming to let you know that right now we have a tornado warning that is in place across the northern edge of Berks County. You can actually see communities such as Greenwich right now. You are under that tornado warning, so it is essential for you to seek shelter immediately as we are noticing a rotating thunderstorm that continues to move to the northeast. I've been watching this particular cell in the last couple of minutes, and I have seen some of the turning of the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it is not just the northern end of Berks County, but also the extreme northwestern corner of Lehigh County. So if you are anywhere near Greenwich, I want you to take this as serious as possible and know that with this tornado warning, we are noticing the rotation in the higher levels of the storm. So notice that most of what we are seeing right now here, very at least busy on our current radar loop. We are tracking heavy rain with this particular cell, so I wouldn't be out there trying to identify or trying to spot the tornado. Make sure you seek shelter in the most interior portion of your home. That could be a bathroom, that could be inside of a closet, or also what you can do is obviously head to the lowest portion of your bed. Get in the bathtub if you can. Again, we do not have full confirmation of there being a tornado out there right now, but know that there is rotation with this particular cell, and this system is moving towards the northeast. So communities such as Lynn, anyone along Route 143, 737, you're essentially going to see this severe thunderstorm that's going to be sliding across your area. So in Lynn, I could see this thunderstorm there moving near your location at about 2:21. So you have less than 5 minutes to get ready to get to your safe spot. And of course, let everybody you know that we are watching this particular storm as it continues to slide to the northeast away from Berks County, but next entering Lehigh County as well. So Jordan Valley, this storm will be approaching your area at about 2:31 p.m. East Penn about 2:38, and this storm will continue to slide towards the northeast. Most of the severe thunderstorms that I've been tracking here in the last hour or so have been generally moving to the northeast at about 30 miles per hour. And I mentioned earlier how I was noticing rotation, so let me show you the velocity here, because this really tells the story of the contrast in the colors that we have. Meteorologist Brittney Shipp is behind the scenes right now, and she's also watching the development of this particular cell, and she just highlighted for us here this particular couplet. So this is the part of the storm that has winds moving in different directions right now. The color that you see in the green, these are the winds associated with the storm that are moving closer to the radar, while the red, it is moving away from the radar. So essentially we have a little bit of a circulation going on with this rotating thunderstorms. As I mentioned, anyone north of the I-78 corridor across Berks County, you are under a tornado warning. Treat this as if a tornado has been confirmed. Do not go outside. Do not try to investigate what the situation is. This is not a time for you to be going on social media, of course, sharing those photos. This is not the time for that. Notice the track here as we look at some other communities that are going to have the movement of this severe thunderstorm in the next couple of minutes. Again, Lynn about 2:24 p.m. this afternoon. Lynnport at about 2:22. Lynnville 25, excuse me. So we don't have a lot of time. We are watching this storm. As you all know, we have issued a first alert yesterday to let everybody know about the potential for severe thunderstorm across the region. And we are noticing those thunderstorms already bubbling up across most of the area. Know that most of the severe storms that are moving across the region will also be producing downpours, heavy rain that will limit visibility, and a flood watch is in place across all of the Pennsylvania suburbs and North Jersey as well. But keep in mind that not only do we have the threat for severe thunderstorms, but also there could be large hail, the heavy rain, and isolated tornadoes. That is something that we were highlighting, of course, throughout our coverage earlier this morning around 11 a.m. as well. And officially, we have the first tornado warning in place across the north end of Berks County, starting to get a little bit farther to the northeast, now covering, I should say, portions of northwestern Lehigh County. So here it is. Thank you, Brittney, for popping up the box. Tornado warning until 2:45 p.m. and this is for Berks and Lehigh County. We're talking about the northwestern section of this particular county. We are noticing multiple storms, so this is not just one particular cell that is moving across the region, but there are multiple clusters of moderate to heavy rain that are currently pressing across the region, and these storms will continue to slide mainly towards the northeast. Again, Berks and Lehigh County, I need you all to be very vigilant, as I wouldn't be surprised if this is the only severe thunderstorm warning, with the addition, of course, of a tornado warning that has been issued and has been added across the region. So I am going to show you here really quickly on the map some of the other locations that are currently under this tornado warning. It is essentially covering two different portions of the region here of the northern edge of the Lehigh Valley. Albany, you are experiencing some of the heavy rain right now. Residents near Stony Run, near Lynn, anybody north of the I-78 corridor know that we have this storm that is rotating, that is moving to the northeast, and that is capable of actually producing a tornado. Again, whenever we have a tornado warning, we're talking about the rotation detected by radar in the mid and lower levels of the storm, and that is something that we've been tracking here with this particular cell. We're talking the northern end of Berks County, and we're noticing also, as Brittney zooms out a little bit more, other locations currently not under a tornado warning, but we are noticing as well severe thunderstorm warnings. Brittney, Shipp, meteorologist, also on standby. Brittney, it's been a busy, or at least the afternoon seems to be getting busy, especially now that we have this tornado warning.
Absolutely,
Brittney.
Marvin. I'm behind the scenes here. I'm monitoring the National Weather Service TRAT, and we know that this tornado warning is tracking a cell that's moving to the northeast at 15 miles per hour. So that's relatively slow, but what we want to do for starters is we're going to take away the radar just for a second here. We want to show you exactly where this polygon is, because these are the areas that you need to be concerned about. So if you're closer to Stony Run, Lynn, Switzer, you are all under a tornado warning right now. Moserville. So if we're calling out your neighborhood, this is the time where you need to take actions right now. We do want to show you on Weather Computer 1 what that means. So when we're in a watch, that's one thing. But once we start to hear from the National Weather Service that there is a warned thunderstorm cell likely to produce a tornado, now is the time to act. So you do need to seek shelter if you are within this particular polygon. So if you're in that red box, that is the concern for us. We do know that this tornado warning is going to stay in effect until 2:45, so we do have about 20 more minutes here of tracking. The concern already is the fact that we do have a severe thunderstorm warning now that has been issued for areas like Lehigh, North Whitehall, which means there is this potential that this cell could stay pretty well organized and continue to track into those locations. So here we're going to circle the area of concern here, and this is right over Lynn at this time. So if you live in the area, again, you want to take action right now. So we have this tornado warning that is going to be staying in effect for us here for the next couple of minutes. I do want to zoom in a little bit closer. We can get you down to street level, and we want to call out some of these different neighborhoods, some of these different streets. If you're closer to even Linville, you're in this tornado warning. Same thing for Switzer, Worley's Corner, Moserville, Jordan Valley. You're not quite in the tornado warning, but it could be extended into your neighborhood. If you live near Moserville Road, now we want to switch you over here. Let's try and go into velocity mode, where we try to identify if there is any type of rotation in the upper levels, rotation with some of the wind speeds, and that tends to help us identify if we're dealing with basically a tornado that's close to touching down to the ground. So we're now in velocity mode. It's kind of hard to make out any type of a couplet here. It was a little bit more well organized before, but we still do have this tornado warning that is going to be in effect. Another thing that we can look at, another type of tool that we have, is the correlation coefficient, and that tends to show us if there's any debris. It also picks up large hail. So we're really looking for definition on the radar at this time when we start to track a lot of these cells. I'm going to switch us back over now to just the radar shot that shows us where all the heavy rain is coming down. We're going to put a pause on this so we can show you exactly where some of the heaviest rain is right now. I know it starts to get a little bit cluttered here, but if you're seeing the yellow box, that's a severe thunderstorm warning. If you're seeing this red box and you live anywhere near this, this is where we have the tornado warning that's still in effect here. This is according to the National Weather Service. It is tracking to the northeast, moving at about 15 miles per hour. And so that is a slow moving system. So we're going to put a tracker on this. We have to manually update how fast these storms are moving on our computer here and basically show you what where we think this tornado is going to head next. So again, we are going to track this at this time. Let's clear this, and then we're going to put the tracker on exactly where we're going to see this thunderstorm cell tracking to. So again, this is moving to the northeast here. I do believe it's moving relatively fast, so it is going to probably start to push into areas like Jordan Valley, Moserville, Lynnport. We're going to back up this radar a little bit just so you can get a better picture of how everything is flowing. So these things are moving and tracking. All of these severe thunderstorms are tracking to the northeast right around 15 miles per hour. So now we're going to erase this, start fresh, so you can see I'm actually going to take away some of the watches and warnings so you can get a better idea of exactly where we're at. This helps paint the picture a little bit better for you. So we're going to put this into motion and show you exactly the last 30 minutes. You can kind of see the flow of where this is tracking. So it looks like everything is tracking mainly closer just to the north here of 309. So that's where we're seeing some of the heaviest downpours at this time. But anyone that's in this polygon, we cannot emphasize this enough, you are under this tornado warning until 2:45. This is the latest query here, 2:45. We're looking at the chat here. This tornado warning is producing potentially a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located about 14 miles southeast of Tamaqua, moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. So we're right around 2:27 here, and this is going to stay in effect until 2:45. If we widen out the picture a little bit more, you can see it's not just this particular area, but we have, it looks like 5 different severe thunderstorm warnings at this time firing up across most of the region. This is the extreme parts of Berks County near Lehigh, and it's a little difficult to see. I'm going to take off just temporarily our lightning strike so we can really get a little bit closer here to identify where some of the strongest storms are moving, or the cell that they were most concerned about. So we're watching this entire area. It's this little corner here that's most concerning. So that means places like Lynn, if you travel near 309, this is just to the north of Worley's Corner, just to help try to paint the picture of what we're watching and what we are tracking for you. One thing that we want you to do here, if there is a tornado warning and we are calling out your neighborhood, now is the time to take action. So that means get to the lowest part in your home. So we're talking move to a basement. If you do not have a basement, an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building will work. We want you to avoid windows if you can. If you're outdoors or in a mobile home or even in a vehicle, you want to move to the closest area that has shelter. So maybe that means a gas station. We want you to make sure you are taking cover. We want to make sure everyone is going to be staying safe. So again, just winding out this picture here, we do have this tornado warning that's going to be staying in effect until 2:45 p.m. So again, we have just a few more minutes, but the biggest thing that we're going to be going over for today is when we see that tornado warning issued, which we have it there right over Lynn. That's the most concerning area for us. This is where you need to take shelter. So this is going to be the biggest concern. Anywhere where we're talking about this polygon here, this is the tornado warning. So we're really going to hyper focus on areas like Lynn. Even Stony Run is dealing with really strong wind speeds at this time, heavy downpours. And if you're closer to even 143 here, Linville, again, these are all places where you need to take cover. Westler Valley, Owl Valley Road here. Excuse me, Moserville up towards the north. Marvin, if you can just zoom to the northeast a little bit more. I do believe this is tracking to the northeast at 15 miles per hour. And although just outside of this polygon here, it's just a severe thunderstorm warning, I believe the National Weather Service, if this is holding together here, is going to probably extend this tornado warning. If this is still a cell that stays organized well enough, it's going to be continuing to track to the northeast. So Marvin, can you show me a few of the cities that are just to the northeast of areas like Moserville? So the next places that are going to be a concern, even if it's just this heavy rain that's traveling and really strong wind speeds, It's going to be closer to East Penn, 895. We'll throw in there Lehigh, Furnace, Jordan Valley here. And again, we're watching this where that red line is. That's the end of the tornado warning. So that is the box. That is where we have all the cities warned until 2:45. However, if this continues to track, which we know it's tracking to the northeast at 15 miles per hour, areas like East Penn, you might be next under this tornado warning. Same thing for places like Jordan Valley. When you start to see this switching from the rain into velocity mode here, that means we're looking for the red and the green to kind of couple together. And sometimes it's really easy to identify it, and other times it's not as clear. But it looks like potentially here we have a little bit of a coupling, and this is all closer to, again, Lynn. We keep saying Lynn. If you know anyone that lives in this particular area, or even Moserville here, you want to make sure you're taking cover. We keep calling out areas like 309. We know a lot of people travel on some of these roads. Same thing, 143. So this is where we're most concerned in this particular area, in this particular neighborhood. It's hard to pronounce this name, but Ali Magals Road, 863, Lynnport. If you're in this area, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, Moserville. And then let's widen it out a little bit more, Marvin, so we can see that, again, the trend here is going to be heading to the northeast. And we do want to just remind you with tornado warnings, the fact is now is the time to move. I think we do have a graphic to show you, which basically explains what you need to do in this type of scenario, and that is head down to your basement. You want to make sure that you do not stay near any windows. I know it's difficult. A lot of people watch TV in their living room, but there you have it. So you want to go to the central room or basement. You want to stay in those high-rise. Oh, if you stay in high-rise buildings, you want to try to head to a bathroom. You want to stay away from windows. You want to make sure you are covering your head. So we do have a few more minutes left with this tornado warning. Marvin, do you have any updates on the chat?
Yeah, you know what, Brittney, I actually just noticed that just seconds ago, the National Weather Service Office issued a flash flood warning for Berks County. And as you mentioned, not only are we looking at this particular cell right here capable of producing a tornado, but there have been other storms in the vicinity, severe thunderstorms capable of bringing damaging wind gusts, and those storms are also producing a lot of rain. So even if we don't get a full verification of a tornado touching the ground, let's say, we are tracking definitely those gusty winds, and we're also tracking the heavy rain. And the storms here in this particular location have been training in the last couple of minutes. So now that we have this flash flood warning, we know that the rainfall here has been significant. With some of these storms, we're talking about rainfall rates anywhere between 2 and 3 inches per hour. And of course, that can lead to some localized flooding. And I gotta tell you, Brittney, I know we're talking about Berks County and we're talking about the northwestern area of Lehigh County, but we gotta highlight the fact that even areas that are not seeing storms right now actually have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 8 p.m. this evening. So there is definitely a large area of a region that will be encountering these potential severe storms. And of course, some of these storms are going to be strong enough to potentially fire up a tornado or two. And that is essentially what we have going on right now. A tornado warning that is in place until 2:45. And this tornado watch, of course, covers a large portion of the northern edge of Berks County. Right here, you're seeing it just to the west of Moxotani near the I-78 corridor. So if you know anyone driving in this area, if you have a loved one that has to take any of the routes that you are seeing here on screen, let them know to pull to the side, go inside while we have this threat happening at the moment. And I'm noticing right now, Brittney, that we still have the colors here, the green versus the red, which of course signify and let us know that there is rotation happening within this particular storm.
Right, and let's zoom out a little bit more. I know we have the flash flood warning. Do we still have the tornado warning? I'm not seeing the red box anymore. It may have been
that is correct, Brittney.
Canceled
I'm not
by
seeing
the
it
National
anymore.
Weather Service. So I think for now, we're done with the tornado warning in that particular area. As you can see, there's still a severe thunderstorm warning for areas like North Whitehall, Lehigh, and you can just look at how much thunderstorm activity we are seeing. So the atmosphere is very ripe. We are going to continue to update you. If we have another tornado warning, we will be on TV within minutes. So that's what we're going to be doing this entire afternoon. We still have the first alert. It's going to stay in effect until 10 p.m. And we're basically just watching the radar to make sure you stay safe. So we will have more updates coming up in just a bit.
Your NBC 10 First Alert Weather Update.
I'm First Alert Meteorologist Brittney Shipp. We do have a first alert that's going to stay in effect for the entire area. We've already seen one tornado warning. We have reports of damaging winds. We have the potential for an isolated tornado. That threat does continue for us. We have a flash flood threat that is already happening. Most of the region is under a severe thunderstorm watch. We have an elevated risk to see these severe thunderstorms and the potential for tornadoes today. Warning, please make sure you have your action plan ready to go. Our live radar right now is showing us this green area. That's the flash flood warning. We also have the severe thunderstorm warning. So these are situated closer to Berks County, but we do anticipate a lot of these thunderstorms will make it through the entire region. We'll be tracking everything for you starting at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Your NBC 10 First Alert Weather Update.
And I'm NBC10 First Alert Meteorologist Brittney Shipp. We do have another tornado warning that is going to be in effect until 3:30. Part of Northampton County right now is included in this. So we want you to pay attention. If you live closer to this area, we're going to go over some of the neighborhoods here. So if you're anywhere near Mount Bethel here, this is just right outside of Easton, just to the northeast of Easton. It looks like just a corner of Northampton County is included in this. It's almost out of our viewing area, but we're just going to stick with this until it basically transitions out. So you can see the cell there. It's just to the south of Mount Bethel here. And we're going to switch this into velocity mode. We try to see if there's any rotation currently happening with this particular system. So right now we're in reflectivity. We're going to switch you over to velocity and we start to look for this. Looks like a pretty decent couplet here. Anytime you see that red and that green interacting together, that means there's a good chance for some rotation. So this particular area here, again, this is the far extreme parts of our viewing area. This is just to the north of Foul Rift. This is closer to White. This is near Manukang Chunk. This is near River Road. We're going to wind out the picture so you can again see this is just about to exit our particular region here. But this tornado warning is still in effect for parts of the area here. This is until 3:30. Again, one of our counties, Northampton, is included in this. We're seeing hail reports potentially up to 1 inch in diameter. This is tracking right now to the north at 25 miles per hour. So a lot of times you can tell the exact direction this is tracking because that's how the polygon is shaped. So when we mention the polygon, it's this red box here. And if it's tracking a little bit more to the north, that is where we're watching this cell track to. So it was near just to the north of Harmony. Looks like it's a little bit closer to a city called White. Groovertown, you're probably seeing some really strong wind speeds. You potentially are dealing with really strong hail. We can switch over and show you some of the hail tracks as well. You can see right over an area called Foul Rift. If we take you down a little bit closer to street level, this is right over Martins Creek Belvedere Highway near Richmond Road. This is tracking again to the north at 25 miles per hour here. And it looks like some of the locations impacted include Belvedere, Hope, Roxburgh, Columbia, Delaware, Water, Gap, Portland. And it looks like there's reports of flying debris, which of course is always dangerous. You do want to make sure you're seeking shelter. So let's go ahead and put up that graphic here, which is just a reminder of what you need to be doing anytime that we have a tornado warning. We want to just explain to you again what your plan of action needs to be. And that is, you want to make sure you're taking shelter here. So here we have basically your breakdown. Anytime we call for a tornado warning in parts of the area, it means that it's time for you to seek shelter. You want to find the lowest level of your basement, and that's where you need to be. You need to get away from windows. If you live in a high rise, a lot of these areas don't have high rises, but if you do, you want to get to your bathroom. You want to stay away from anywhere that has windows. You want to make sure you cover your head. Let's wind out the picture here. We already mentioned this is for the extreme parts of Northampton County. We have the hail tracks on here, so that helps us identify where we're seeing a cluster of hail. That also helps us identify how strong this thunderstorm is. Let's back up the picture here. Thank you, Marvin. He is driving for us. And again, you can see it's this particular area that's under the polygon. Now, we know this is moving to the north. The last storm was moving to the northeast. This one is moving directly to the north at around 25 miles per hour. So if we start tracking this, areas that are basically north here of Mount Bethel, you are next in line. You need to start getting your action plan together. It looks like potentially White is just right on the east side of this particular storm. But again, if we track this directly, thank you, to the north here, we're going to call out some of the names that potentially could get affected. And that includes areas like Portland at 332, Knowlton at 339, Hemlock Glen, Jacksonburg. These all have the potential to see not only this tornado, but also these strong wind speeds, hail. We want to switch you over potentially to our velocity mode, and that should start to show us a little bit more information of exactly where we're starting to see that rotation. So we're starting to look for more of a couplet here, and you can see in between Foul Rift up towards Stone Church, out towards River Road. If you are from this area, you probably know exactly what I'm referring to. And look at this. So we can just circle that. Marvin, this is basically showing us where that rotation is. So we are seeing a bit of a couplet here. Everything is tracking to the north, 25 miles per hour. If you are in this polygon, you again want to use your action plan. That includes heading to the lowest level of your home. Hopefully it's not a mobile home. If it is, you might want to hop in your car and go somewhere a little bit more sturdy, only if you have the time. So we're putting a tracker on this. Everything is tracking. Look at this couplet here. It's pretty well defined. And when we say a couplet, we're looking for the red and the green to start to match up because that indicates that we're seeing some rotation here. So a closer look at that. You can see those lots of thunderstorm activity. This is just to the north of Groover Town. And this is all tracking to the north, right about 25 miles per hour. So this is the edge of Northampton County here, but it's still in our coverage area. So we want to make sure everyone is staying safe. So these are the places that we could just point out. I think we should zoom in a little bit more so we can kind of get down to street level or at least show off a few more of our neighborhoods. And so again, that includes Riverton Road. We know Foul Rift has been dealing with a lot of hail. I think we could even switch this over to our correlation coefficient. Let's see if there's any debris that we could track, Marvin, on this one. So that's going to also help determine exactly where this tornado is moving. And that could be just to the north, right around 25 miles per hour. So we want to call out those streets, Richmond Road, Mount Bethel, anywhere to the north of these areas here. You want to make sure you're staying safe. You want to use your action plan. If you're closer to Ramseyburg here, if you know anyone that travels on 46, maybe River Road, Portland, Mount Bethel, 611, 512, 657, Interstate 80, Polkville, you're all included in this tornado warning. And right now it's about 3:11, so this is going to extend all the way until 3:30 p.m. So again, there's that tornado warning. It's for two different counties, Northampton and also Warren. We have reports of hail 1 inch in diameter. We start to see wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. Not only that, but we're potentially dealing with a tornado. So we do want to check the National Weather Service, see if they're saying anything. I'm also going to take a closer look here and switch you into our velocity mode once again, because that definitely tells more of the picture for us. We want to see exactly how this tornado is operating when we start to switch into these different modes here. So we widen this out and we're looking for the red and the green matching up. And it looks like this is what we're seeing. We also like to back this up a few minutes and see how it's operating. We like to see how it's tracking. So this one in particular here, it looks like it started coming together near Harmony. This is right up towards Martins Creek, Belvedere Highway, and you can start to see it really coming together just outside of White, near River Road, and just to the south of Ramseysburg. Now I'm going to turn on what we call it's a debris tracker, and that tends to show us if there's any debris flying around. So we start to look and just see if we can see anything that's more organized. It doesn't look like it right now on this, but we'll switch you back into our rain mode here. And we still do have this tornado warning. That means the National Weather Service is still concerned that this has rotation here. It's possible we already saw it touch down. It was a little more organized when this originally was issued, probably about 5-10 minutes ago. But this is, again, staying in effect here until 3:30. So once you see that polygon here, all of these storms, we have to update the storm tracker here. It's tracking around 25 miles per hour. So we manually enter that in. And then we just put a tracker on exactly where it's heading. And we know it's heading to the north. So places like Knowlton, 327, Hemlock Glen, 334, Mount Vernon, 337. These are all some of the areas that could be affected by this tornado warning that is now in effect for these particular areas here. Again, I just wanted to caution everyone, if you are within this tornado warning, you want to be seeking shelter at this time. So we're at 3:14 right now. This is going to be staying in effect at least until 3:30. If you're closer to areas like Stone Ridge, Mount Bethel, Ramseyburg, Manica, Chunk, White, Mount Bethel, Knowlton, you are all, again, underneath this warning. And let's go ahead and put this in motion for you so you can at least see how everything is tracking. And it is tracking to the north. We do know that. We are looking for just basically more information on exactly where this is heading and exactly which areas are going to be affected. And one way we do that is with our velocity mode, and it tends to paint the picture for us. It tends to paint the picture for us on exactly where everything is. So right now we're checking out if there's any debris. And you can see, I don't know, Marvin, this is intense here over White.
Yeah,
see
that
this
is correct,
area?
Brittney. You know, this is another one of those cells that we've been closely watching as multiple storms continue to move across the Lehigh Valley. With this particular one, obviously the rotation has started coming up. If you see this particular shot whenever we show you velocity, something we do not want to see is the green right next to the red. This is what we call a couplet. This is what we call a system that, of course, is rotating. And as of right now, we know that the tornado warning does continue across Warren County, New Jersey, and Northampton County, Pennsylvania, until 3:30. So we are noticing the spin. Obviously, some of the storms that we were expecting for this afternoon, we knew there was going to be rotation, and we know that damaging wind still continues to be the threat. So even if we don't officially have a funnel cloud touching the ground, and even if we don't have a confirmation of there being a tornado in the neighborhoods that you are seeing on the screen, treat this as if there was a tornado outside your house. Seek shelter immediately and be prepared to have even more storms moving across your neighborhood, across your neck of the woods for the rest of the afternoon and evening as those storms continue to move. With this particular tornado warning near Manica Chunk, that's going to be the spot that directly to the north and to the west. That's where we see that very tight couplet here between the green, anywhere between Shady Lane and Route 46. If you know anyone in this particular area, let them know to pull to the side of the road to seek shelter immediately inside a sturdy building, because this is the area where we most likely have the rotation. Well, we know we have the rotation there, and that's where most likely we could have a funnel cloud touching the ground. Brittney, it's important to highlight the fact that whenever we have tornado warnings, it's not a full guarantee that there's a tornado touching the ground causing destruction, but it is an indication that the storm is spinning, and we know that those funnel clouds can quickly touch the ground and a tornado could take place any second.
Yeah, and when we get such a clear signature like this on this velocity mode, it really helps us to determine where this is moving. We know that it's just to the south of Mount Bethel right now. We also know that it is tracking to the north at 25 miles per hour. So that basically means if you live anywhere north of this area right here and you're within this red polygon, it is time for you to use your tornado action plan. You need to find your safe space. And what does that look like? What do we mean when we say that? It basically means you need to get away from the windows. So if you're listening to us and watching us on TV and you're somewhere where there's a lot of windows, one thing that you can do is you can turn up the volume on the TV and then head to your safe space. So that includes a central room or a basement. You can go to the bathroom even. You want to stay away from those windows. You want to make sure you are covering your head. So we are just continuing to track this particular cell. And the National Weather Service has the option to either extend or cancel. And just about 3 minutes ago, they wanted to extend the tornado warning, which means they did not like what they were seeing. We're pretty much seeing a decent rotation.
Yeah, Brittney, I will say that right now we have a new tornado warning, and this one is for Hunterdon and Somerset in New Jersey. Those both of those counties, they are currently basically under a tornado warning. This is just outside of our viewing area, but basically any residents to the south of I-78 across New Jersey know that a new tornado warning has been issued across your region. So residents across central Jersey, just to the north of Trenton, they have to be vigilant there, as well as we are tracking another storm that is rotating in that particular location. That storm is about 12 miles west of Somerville, moving to the northeast at 25 miles per hour. So slow moving thunderstorms rotating right now, capable of producing tornadoes. And of course, we don't want to forget the main one, the one we originally started with, Brittney, or at least that you started with, is the one that we have across Northampton County, extending into the western side of Warren County. This is basically right there, crossing the river at the moment, from what it seems, Brittney, based on the velocity depiction that we have on radar. You can see the evolution right there, the green versus the red, sliding from Pennsylvania into New Jersey. So this storm is clearly moving, and it will continue to do so. There are still signs of rotation. We know this is a storm capable of producing a tornado, and we know that, of course, this could potentially verify if we continue to see such a tight circulation, and of course, if we get more details and more official report that whether or not a tornado did verify in this particular location.
Yeah, Marvin, one thing I like to do is at least back the radar up maybe 10 minutes. This helps us to see how the tornado is tracking. So we know it's tracking to the north, but it's not in a straight line. So that's why there's such a large polygon. But when we start to put everything into motion, you can kind of make out it's veering a little bit to the northeast. So that's helpful information. So right now we are seeing potentially a little circulation near Ramseyburg. This is near 46. This is just outside of Mount Bethel. If you're in any of these locations here, you're within the tornado warning polygon. This is what we have to keep going over exactly where this tornado potentially could be heading, or at least the damaging wind speeds, the strong hail, any of these capable of producing damage and sending debris flying, which is obviously dangerous. So Portland, we're going to just keep calling off some names. Knowlton, Brownings. If you're anywhere, anyone traveling on 80, 611, 94, you can make out on velocity. This is another little rotation here. So it's not as well defined as it once was, but it's still tracking here to the north, heading near Brownings, Interstate 80, 611, Delaware Water Gap. Looks like just to the south of Hemlock Glen. So if we put a tracker on this area, what's concerning me a little more is down towards River Road, right over Ramseyburg, near Shady Lane, Stone Church Drive. These are all areas potentially affected by what possibly could be a tornado on the ground. Another thing we like to watch is we like to look at the National Weather Service chat back here, and it helps paint the picture. And we have one report, but this is not quite our county. This is a part of the same storm system. This is near Raritan Township, and it says trees down on wires, and that was closer to 3 o'clock. So it's all a part of the system that continues to track here to the north, right around 25 miles per hour. And again, if you're anywhere north of these areas that we're basically tracking for you here, anywhere north of Manica Chunk, if you're north of Stone Church, you want to make sure you're seeking shelter. So if we put a tracker on this.
Yeah, and you know what, Brittney, as you put the tracker, I think something really important to highlight here, because sometimes most of the communities here are not as widely populated as the urban corridor, let's say, but at least we know, or at least we're for sure knowing right now, that the tornado warning does include the I-80 corridor here in this particular location of Warren County. So obviously a very busy highway, I-80, going from Pennsylvania into New Jersey. This is just to the immediate northeast of Northampton County. I-80 in that location, along with State Route 46 in New Jersey, currently under a tornado warning. Drivers need to be very vigilant. If you know anyone driving in this particular portion of the state, they have to basically try to seek shelter if they can. Obviously, trying to stay under a bridge and waiting for the storm to happen, that is not something that we recommend. So this is could be a critical situation, Brittney, if in fact we get a verification of a tornado, and in fact if this particular storm continues to spin as it moves to the north and as it could potentially cross over I-80. So not something that we want to deal with, not something that we want to experience. We can see a little bit of the rotation near Hope, and of course getting even closer, right, Brittney, to the I-80 corridor from what it seems?
Yes, and it looks like it is going to basically transition out of our county, but we are still looking here at a few different chats here. There is a potential that we did see a tornado with this. It was a pretty defined signature on our velocity radar here, and you can see everything is tracking to the north. So it is, heading out of the region here. It's closer to Mount Bethel, but you can see that rotation right there on our velocity radar. When we're talking rotation, what we're looking for is a couplet. It's the red and the green coming together. So a lot of times you only see red, like you're only seeing red here near Blairstown. But if you start to see the green, that means we know that things are registering away and coming towards the radar. So that helps us determine that there's potentially some type of rotation with our wind speed. So that's why we love this mode so much, to help investigate what's happening exactly with this particular thunderstorm cell. So this is now, it continues to travel away from River Road. It actually looks like it's tracking a little bit more to the northeast instead of directly to the north. Now the wind direction moving, or the wind speed, was closer to 25 miles per hour. So we know areas like Knowlton near 80, you need to take cover at this time. If you're closer to Hemlock Glen, same thing. Anywhere near 94 here, you're potentially in the danger zone. Anyone that's in this box here, this red box, this tornado warning, which is going to be in effect at least 6 more minutes potentially for our region, you want to be using your safe space and your safe plan right now. Let's go through what that looks like. Let's go over what happens when you're under that tornado warning. And these locations we will include areas like Brownings here, Mount Bethel, you're technically still under the warning. Anyone traveling along 46 or 80, you're under the warning as well. And so we know this is, again, tracking to the north. We can see a decent rotation there. Let's look at what it looks like just on plain radar here, and that kind of paints the picture too as to how much thunderstorm activity we're seeing. Another tool we have is our hail tracker, and this becomes fairly impressive as well, because you can see where all the hail is clustered together and how that's moving. That is right over River Road. This helps us see where the track of that severe storm is as well. And again, that's tracking a little bit more to the northeast, just to the northeast of White right now. It's just still to the south of Mount Bethel. This is directly over River Road. We've been saying this name a lot, Manatee Chunk. Near River Road, this particular area here dealing with a lot of hail, a lot of thunderstorm activity, and very strong wind gusts, which are, again, tracking to the north right around 25 miles per hour. So that was the hail tracks, but you can see where we're dealing with a bit of rotation on our velocity mode is actually technically closer to Knowlton already. This is near 80. Anyone traveling near Interstate 80 needs to be careful. If you're south of Hemlock Glen, although technically it's not in this tornado warning yet, if this stays organized here, we could see different towns like Blairstown included in this tornado warning. So right now it is set to expire in about 3 minutes at 3:30. But the potential is there. If this rotation keeps registering on our velocity mode, we could see this extended into these different areas to include, again, Hemlock Glen and also Blairstown. So we have about, looks like a couple more minutes left here. If you're further south, if you're closer to White here, anywhere south, although you're under this tornado warning, we already can tell that the tornado and this thunderstorm cell is tracking to the north of this region. So we are not as concerned with areas south of where we already see this very strong thunderstorm cell. So we are now more concerned with places like Feebletown, anyone traveling on Interstate 80, Knowlton, Brownings, Slate Ford, anywhere just right south of Hemlock Glen. If you're closer to Blairstown, because it's hard to determine exactly where it's going. Most of the chat information saying it's heading to the north, but if we just look at how it's initializing, it looks like it's trending a little bit to the northeast. So that would include these locations here, Hemlock Glen, again, Blairstown. You could be potentially under this tornado warning coming up, but we know for sure that if you're closer, we'll switch you again. If you're closer to Knowlton, that's a pretty decent return here. This is a couplet for us. This means we're dealing with a little rotation here.
The storm just crossed over I-80, and as you mentioned, we are still showing the rotation. We are still noticing this particular cell. The tornado warning still has not been extended, but I think right now it's just a matter of seconds before they make the extension into areas farther to the north and east. You can actually see, as you mentioned, those communities such as Blairstown, anyone near Franklin Grove, Stillwater. I would imagine these areas currently under a severe thunderstorm warning most likely will transition into a tornado warning, and that is just based on the reflectivity that we are seeing here. And something else to point out with this particular storm, and obviously with all of the storms that we've been tracking, there is a lot of rain associated with this. So even if we're not getting a visible indication, anyone out there that's watching, well, know that the tornado could potentially be rain wrapped. And as of right now, for Warren County, the tornado warning has expired. But again, Brittney, there are still signs of rotation, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they reactivated this or not. But the tornado warning expired for Warren and Northampton, Pennsylvania, Northampton County. So basically the counties in our region, they are back to at least not having that tornado warning.
Yep. So we can tell on the chat a little bit faster than our maps update that this tornado warning has now expired. Of course, we will continue to watch this for the rest of the afternoon. We have a first alert in effect for the entire evening.